The CADA Lotus Exige is finally complete, and it is hands down the best 1/8 scale car from CADA that certainly I've made and probably they've ever produced. In a lot of my previous videos on this set, I've covered off things like the accessible instructions, the build experience. So if you want to get into the detail of some of those elements, you probably best go and watch those videos first. In this video, I'm going to tell you why I think CADA need to take from this set and use a lot of what's great about it in their future builds. If you think back to the AMG 1, the Mazda RX-7, the Yangwang U9, all brilliant in their own way. The AMG 1, in terms of representation of the original production car, that's about as good as it gets. The RX-7, which has been a personal favourite of mine, probably because of its connection to the Fast and Furious movies, and I am a super fan of those, that's been my favourite until this point. The Yangwang U9 was a technological marvel in the fact that it had the app-based remote control functions, the dancing and all the antics that make it a great party piece, but that had a few flaws. Then there's this. It doesn't have any of those things. It doesn't have any motors. It is pure, raw, retro Technic. And for me, that's what CADA needs to do more of. I understand why they've gone down the motors route, to stand them apart from the likes of Lego and do something that perhaps they don't tend to do. But for me, their differentiator is the various models that they create, the licenses they have. And for a set like this, Lego were never going to build this. It's not high profile enough. It's not a hypercar. It's not a Ferrari Daytona or a McLaren P1. But for me, building the Lotus Exige is more desirable than any of those cars, because this was accessible to many of us back in the noughties. It was a car that didn't cost £1 million. It was something that we all dreamed of thrashing around a racetrack, and for many of us that was a reality. So to be able to bring it to life in brick form is more desirable for someone like me than any of those Lego sets that have gone before it. The lack of motors on this means that they've been able to add more detail into, say, the interior or the general functions of the product. It's lighter, so the steering works better than it perhaps does on those other sets, although the other ones are motorized. And I think coming back to the motorized functions, they're nice to have for the first 10 or 15 minutes. They're great for pushing on social media, but for me, this is now going to sit in my CADA cabinet for me to just look at as a piece of art, just like all the others do. It's a waste of batteries and a waste of effort going and putting all the motors in when they're not really going to be used by 90% of the people that buy these sets. The AMG GT3 is due to be released, so I wonder what they're going to do with that. My hunch is that they're going to stuff it full of motors, but if I'd been working with them at the time that they produced that set, I'd have said, don't bother. Make it just like this. Make it raw, make it Technic, make the build experience accessible for everyone so that the end product looks as good as this does. From every angle, this is a perfect representation of the original car. Even the colour is just perfect. On that note, the only gripe I have with this set, as good as the instructions are, and CADA have become amazing at producing accessible instructions that fit with all different levels of Technic builder, the green is really difficult to make out on the pages of the instruction book, even more so than black, weirdly. So I think what they could have done, and if they ever build a car in this colour again, they could just look at the instruction book and over accentuate those holes in those green Technic pieces, because if you are a novice Technic builder, the green would become a little bit troublesome. I think as an experienced builder, I was able to kind of look at the thing from a top level and go, okay, I know that goes there, or I know that goes there, or I know that goes in hole 3 or 4 or 5. Whereas a novice builder might find they make a few mistakes just because of that, just because the green hasn't been highlighted enough in the instruction book. Just, they need to accentuate the circles and the holes in the bricks a little bit more. Details like the seats, again, they're not as advanced or cushioned or technical as some of the stuff you see from Lego or even in the previous CADA sets, but they're totally reminiscent of the time. 20 years ago, they didn't have the type of seats that you get now in cars. They didn't have carbon backed, huge wings, massive bolsters, all the things adjustable. They were basic seats, and these are reminiscent of the seats that you would have got in the car. Same with the steering wheel. I built a set recently which was massively over-engineered. It looks amazing now that it's finished, but the steering mechanism was so poorly built, I couldn't even turn the wheels. On this, it's so easy to use the Technic functions they've created, which is how a Technic set should be. The moment it's too over-engineered and it becomes too heavy, then those Technic functions, as great as the intention is, just don't work. As a build experience, this was, for me, my favourite set of the 4 that I've built so far. I love the CADA sets. Honestly, all 3 of them that I've done so far have been brilliant to look at. They look great as a piece of art on my shelf, and I've enjoyed every single one of them. This for me though was a level up, and I'm convinced it's because it doesn't have motors. It is just pure raw Technic. A build experience that doesn't take into account cables and routing and all of that other stuff. It's manual, it's analog, but it's still 3,700 pieces, so it's still technical, detailed enough in its foundations to be an enjoyable and challenging build. If you're just coming to the world of CADA and you're looking for a recommendation on your first set, I would highly recommend either this or the Mazda RX-7. I think the Yangwang U9 and the AMG One are probably too complicated for the novice Technic builder, and for around 200 quid, honestly, this is the bargain of the century, on par with anything I've built from Lego in the 1/8 scale range. And when you consider that the one thing that normally lets alternative brands down is the instructions, CADA have nailed that as well. Like I said at the start of this video, if you want to see some in-build shots of this set before it was finished, go and watch some of my previous videos. And if you are watching today and you're not subscribed to the channel and you want to follow along with some of these CADA builds, alternative builds to Lego, and some Lego thrown in as well, I am the Lego loving dad after all, then subscribe to the channel and help me stay motivated to carry on making these videos. Thanks for watching.